Hi everybody, my name is Ari Dumesh and I'm the project manager for Newspace. We're here to tackle the problem of bias in learning spaces, and I'm joined by Nathan Talisman, Jiang Sun, Christian Chow, Javen Liu. There are over 600 million students across the world. For most of them, the internet is their primary resource. Unfortunately, the internet is a mix of opinions with very little fact-checking. This became a pressing issue during the 2016 election when fake news articles were published about candidates from both political parties. However, the problem we are addressing lies in the validity of research and publications. The internet is simply unreliable in its ability to push the best, accurate, unbiased news to the front page of a consumer search results. In order to identify a real pain point, we had to do multiple thinking exercises each week, starting with the opposite thinking exercise in week 1, the double diamond in week 2, the acid test in week 3, and market segmentation in week 4. All in all, we identified a group of target customers that we can see benefiting from an unbiased aggregate news source. There
2 discusses the problem statement. The global consumer spends over 7.5 hours a day with media on average. We rely on it as a news source and as cultural entertainment, and we often assume that what we're consuming is pretty reliable. Unfortunately, that is far from the truth. Bias is inherent. Faith in the fairness and accuracy of the news media has also dropped among regular citizens. Whereas a clear majority of around 55% of Americans trusted the news media to get their facts straight in 1985, only 1 in 4 Americans feel the same way now. Similarly, in 1985, 34% of Americans trusted news organizations to deal fairly with all sides in presenting the news dealing with political and social issues. But less than half that percentage, around 16%, trusted them to do the same thing in 2011. 2. Discuss
The solution to our terminal node of bias in news media sucks lies in a news media aggregation website. We want to create a social media with a whitelist that makes it so you can only post articles from reputable news sources, nothing else. Users can then upvote, downvote, vote it as left-leaning, right-leaning, or centralized. This hits the 5 elements of successful innovations because it is so simple. The components and technology are available today. The cost is very, very low in creating a website. Although it is very hard to prove that there is customer demand, we definitely have found it with our market segmentation. And also, there are no laws that prohibit the simple reposting of news articles onto another website. We are surrounded by people who care about news and care about solving this problem and care about eliminating fake news. The answer lies in our social media website, its simplicity, and its unbiasedness.
Slide 4 discusses value creation. Every person is affected by media bias, and achieving impartial journalism is impossible. An NYU Stern research report last year states that no trustworthy large-scale studies have determined that conservative content is being removed for ideological reasons, or that searches are being manipulated to favor liberal interests. It is close to impossible to identify media bias on a large-scale basis. Our solution is to make the reader identify the bias. That way, we can identify bias on a small scale for a large target market. Twitter started a program called Birdwatch, allowing users to identify information in tweets they believe is misleading and write notes that provide informative context. Facebook set up an independent review board to oversee and potentially reverse moderation decisions. However, these two solutions allow cases to slip through the cracks, whereas our solution ensures that nothing will slip through the crack because it will be obligatory for the reader to judge the level of bias, and thus other readers will also benefit.
Our ideation techniques and our acid test were super important for our target market segmentation. First, we took the top-down approach and took the US population of 331 million. Then, we decided to do students in the US as we were tackling learning spaces. So we are at 76.4 million students in the United States. Then, we wanted to focus on age. We realized that most of research is done in high school and college. So, we found our statistics on what percentage of students were in high school and college and came up with 36.3 million. Finally, we wanted to segment based on their interests. We think that finance majors, legal majors, and journalism majors make up the majority of our target market. That is 32% of the college population, leaving us with a target market of 11 million students. Newspace differentiates itself from its competition by combining all of our competitors' best aspects. Ground News compares news by identifying media bias. They do so by saying what percentage of news sources lean left, lean right, or are centralized. However, nobody knows how they decide if CNN is left-leaning, if Fox News is right-leaning. We let the users decide. MetaFact is another news aggregation platform focused on fact-checking. We will incorporate that into our website just as much as we are incorporating the elimination of media bias. Lastly, we have Handy News that seeks to remove unnecessary noise and present only the important news. Again, we differentiate ourselves because we do not choose. We do not say that one article is more important than the other. We leave it to the hands of the people. We will present the most upvoted articles and have clearly what percentage of people think which direction they are leaning towards. There is no objectivity, there is no centralization, and it is completely up to the users and their aggregate opinion.
This graph demonstrates that Americans are even more critical of the news they see on social media. They believe 80% of it is biased, 64% is inaccurate, and 65% is misinformation. In order to combat these beliefs, we suggest that our readers will measure the bias of each article they read and upload the rating onto the website so other readers are able to avoid these articles if they wish.